My name is Rob, and we are here to talk about some Confluence for beginners or Confluence basics. Thank you all so much for joining me. It's a little bit early for me, so I've got a delicious cup of coffee um, on behalf of my friend Chad, one of my many channel members, as a coffee sponsor. Wanted to welcome you to this training. We'll give folks a couple minutes to jump on in. But while we're going, please consider any questions you have around Confluence. No question will be too big or too small. So please bring your questions around Confluence. I've got a talk track and some things I will go over that I consider the basics. But depending on what you all need and what you are all interested in, we'll go into different areas and we'll talk about different things. One thing I will point out, and I'll talk about interaction in a moment, YouTube now has this little top fans thing in the chat. So if you would like to earn a little crown, all you have to do is chat and you'll earn some experience points, which are valuable for wonderful prizes like that little tiny crown you see Chad and Pedro having. And welcome from Brazil. All right, so like most of my live streams, we're going to get started with a couple of slides. The goal with the slides is just to help ensure that we all kind of have a baseline understanding of some terms and technology, terms and concepts that show up in Confluence. This is important for us because when we go ask for help, when we go online, when we go to the Atlassian community, if we don't know what the terms are, it'll be hard for us to get what we need. So we'll quickly talk a little bit about that, and then we'll jump into a hands-on demonstration of Confluence Cloud Premium. Pretty much everything I show you, you can do in every version of Cloud. I'll call out things that are specific to Premium. The things to look out for would be any kind of AI tool that I show. Will be the biggest difference. And most of what I do will be available in Data Center, and I'll do my best to call out the differences there. Welcome, Christina Elena. Good to have you here from Romania. But we've got about 20, 25 folks, so I'm going to pop over to slides. This is recorded in case you miss any parts of it. A quick way of introduction. My name is Rob. I've had a career in information technology, and a big part of that has been in some kind of knowledge management, some kind of wiki, some kind of documentation. And I quickly discovered this because I was quickly learning things about the organization I was at, and then I was quickly forced into a project where I had to document a lot of stuff. And I needed a better way than just having a Word document on my computer. So this got me into wikis, and in about 2013, I got into Atlassian products, so Confluence and Jira. Now, the important thing to remember about my path is I never had any training. My training for Confluence was someone walking in, pointing at the icon on the screen and saying, that is Confluence, and that was it. That's all I got. I had to figure out everything else by doing, and that's a very common thing. And actually, I'll ask a question in a minute for other folks on training. But my goal is to help ensure folks don't have to learn like that. Don't have to learn by doing in that painful experience. Now, we are on YouTube, which is great. If you're watching this recording, thank you so much. If you're here live, thank you so much. But I can't see you. I can't hear you. It's harder to interact. So please use the chat. Many of you have found it. It's over my left shoulder to the right side of your screen. Use that to say hello, to share some information about yourself if you're comfortable, or to answer some questions. I will also use the chat to do things like put in a poll. And I'll put in a poll right now. And this is just to learn a little bit more about y'all. So in this case, have you ever had any Confluence training? And you can just click yes or no, and we'll get a good idea of how many folks in this particular audience have been trained in Confluence. And again, for me, this is an important question because no one goes to university to learn Confluence. Sometimes you might learn it there, but many of us in our jobs have to use it for various reasons. This one does have pop-ups. Also, if you can subscribe to the channel, that'll help me out. That'll let me know you like this content, but also helps other people find it. And please like the stream. I've recently transitioned in my career to becoming a freelance content creator. You'll see me making more, hopefully good stuff. But the easiest way you can support me and let me know you like what I'm doing is just to hit the like button on this video. It's a little thumbs up down at the bottom. You can also save and share this video, though. I guarantee you there's someone in your organization or someone you know who also uses Confluence, who also hasn't been trained, who could benefit from this training. So if you have a minute right now, please hit the like button if you like this, and then share it with somebody else. If you are watching this recording, please drop a comment on the video. I'll be happy to respond. But these are going to be the best ways to communicate. Now, I will ask some questions. How well do you know something, or how comfortable are you with a concept? And that'll be a 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 scale, 1 meaning not at all, 4 or 5 meaning quite a bit. And we can see that 2/3 of the folks in here have never had Confluence training. And that to me is not a surprise. Um, it's not disappointing. It's just kind of like, okay, I understand where you are all at. You have this system, you need to use it, and you kind of don't know what to do. So we're going to talk about some concepts. I briefly mentioned we're going to start with concepts because they will give us a good grounding and a good foundation in terms of terminology, in terms of ideas that you may not have experienced in a system before. And that's okay. You know, Confluence, like every system, has its own foibles, is set up in its own way by the nice people at Atlassian, the company that makes Confluence. And so if we can understand these terms and concepts, it's much easier to use the system. We'll just discuss what Confluence is and some use cases, different ways your team might use it. But then we'll dig into what a space is and pages and access and templates and a whole bunch of good stuff. Again, use the chat. Please put your questions. And I'm going to put a little question bar in here. You can either put your question directly in the chat or click on that drop your questions here bar, and that'll collect them all for me. And so then I can go and I can pull those questions out as we go and share them with folks so we can pull them apart. Now, if you see a question in the chat and you have an answer or a response to someone else, also interact with that. Feel free to talk to each other, not just to me. Then we'll get hands-on though. So we'll spend 20 minutes talking about concepts, but then we'll see what they look like in Confluence Cloud Premium. So we're going to get hands-on. If you have Confluence available right now, I recommend you open it up if you have another screen or just behind me, and then go back and forth and follow me hands-on. The best way to learn this is to do it. So we're going to do things like learn how to navigate, how to search, making content, editing things, how to collaborate, a whole bunch of great stuff so you can see what this looks like. But while I'm talking, I'm going to have another poll going, and this is just going to be how long have you been using Confluence? I'm going to quickly have to type this out. And this is a number of years, so 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 5, etc. Again, just curious how long people have been using the system. I've been in it for over a decade, which is a long time and not a long time. I know people who've been using it since it started, about 15, 20 years ago. But please consider that question as I'm just starting to tee us up and talk a little bit about what Confluence is. Confluence, when they started, they called it a wiki, and you'll see in all the URLs for Confluence Cloud Premium, they end in wiki. But they've kind of changed its general tone since then. Now, generically, it's just a virtual space where you can share information. So you could call that a wiki, you could call that a collaboration platform, you could call that a documentation engine, you could call it a number of different things. And there's a number of different ways it can be used. Depending on what your team needs, it could be just a wiki or a knowledge base where people go to look things up, and it's maintained by your knowledge management team. But it could also be a collaboration platform where people go in real time to share information about a project or to figure out what's going on at the next company, all hands, etc. It could be a platform that is accessible to external customers, so people anywhere in the world who need training on the tools that your team makes. Or it could be something that only a few people in your organization have access to because they make very sensitive research decisions and documents. There's no real wrong way to use it. It's important, though, that whichever way your team chooses to use it, they are consistent in how it is being used. And that makes it easier for the folks using it to get in there and find what they need. The point of Confluence is to ensure anyone needing information or needing to share it can quickly and easily do that in a structured way. Now, there's different ways Confluence manages its content. At the highest level, the biggest bucket is called an instance or an organization, and that's just Confluence itself. So you have an instance, a copy of Confluence, and everything your team has might be in that instance. It is possible to have two instances at your company. Maybe you have one for the folks in North America and one for the folks in Australia. Typically, though, small to mid-sized companies will have one copy of Confluence they all work in, but within that copy, there's going to be spaces. Now, a space is just a way to organize content. I like to think of it like a library. Your copy of Confluence is the entire building, and then within it, you have rooms, spaces, where different books or materials are placed. You might have a room in your library for fiction books, and a different room for biology, and a different room for reading, and a different room for computers. The same is true for Confluence. Within Confluence, you will have different spaces. And these spaces might have information for a particular team. In this screenshot, the marketing team has a space. There might be a different space for a big project that's going on. There might be a different space for onboarding new workers. The point of the space is to let everyone know, hey, if you want information about the marketing team, go here. It's also to tell the marketing team, if you need to create content, go put it in here. So it sets expectations on what you're going to find in it and then who should be using it. Now, within a space, we have our content. And there are many different types of content. I think they're up to 6. We'll take a look at them when we go live. But the stereotypical piece of content, the one that I always think of and most people in my mind consider when they think of Confluence, is a page. And that looks kind of like a Word document or a Google document or just a blank page of information. Pages contain text. They contain pictures. They contain formatting. They are where people go to get information. Now, there's another very similar piece of content called a blog. The biggest difference between the two is a page shows up in the content hierarchy. So a page is kind of like a book in your library, and it's organized within a space on different shelves. So you walk into the room of your library and you see a shelf, and you can look on that shelf and find the book you need. A space is no different. It has this content hierarchy. It's shelves, and each piece of content is a book or piece of information on that shelf. So pages can be organized visually in this hierarchy or content tree, same, to give people a way to browse and just go through things. Blogs, on the other hand, aren't in the content hierarchy, but they display things chronologically. So think of like an announcement. Your team is having an important meeting or an offsite, or you have a one-time update on a project. That might be a blog post because in 2 months, it's important to know it was made, but you don't have to keep it fresh and updated. It just happened and it's gone. So when I think of content in Confluence, these are the main things I think of. These are the main ways teams are going to communicate and share information. All right. We have a pretty good spread of folks using Confluence. It's about 25 split 0 to 1, with actually 0 to 1 having the most, about 40. Everyone else is roughly even. My next question for the group, do you use Confluence templates? And I'll drop this poll in real quick. And as I start talking about these, you'll understand that these are a fairly important topic within Confluence, just because of the power they give folks and the ability they give you to quickly make new content. I'm also going to quickly check the chat and the questions. No questions yet. But folks, please use the chat to ask questions, to correct me on something, to ask me to clarify. This doesn't just have to be me talking. That's totally okay if that's the experience we need, though. Also, I'm going to take another sip of coffee, but if you like this content, the easiest way to support me, just hit that like button at the bottom. I do also have membership tiers, one of which is Coffee Sponsor. So if you want to help me keep caffeinated, please feel free to become a member of the channel and get some great perks. Now, templates are a way to pre-format a page. So when we first make a page, and we'll see this when I get hands-on momentarily, it's just blank. And this blank page can make it really hard for folks to make content. It can be intimidating. Folks will look at the blank page and go, I don't even know where to start. And that is okay. So templates help us get over that writer's block. Confluence Cloud comes preloaded with 145 of these, 150, some huge number of templates. And the goal is to speed up the ability to make content. So if, I'll use Edgar as the example, if Edgar's going in to make a page and he wants to make a project plan, he can start with this template and it puts a lot of formatting on the page for him. It helps guide his thinking to make it easier for him to build the thing he needs to build. He doesn't have to fight with, okay, what exactly do I put on the page and where do I put the other thing? Now, templates live within this space. So it's within that room of the library, and you can make your own templates. You have to find someone called a space admin, essentially kind of like the librarian, if I'm using this analogy. But the space admin can make new templates for you. So if you're working with your team and you realize, hey, I always make the same kind of page and it always looks the same, you can go to your IT team or your team lead or your space admin and say, hey, let's make this a template and then share it with other people. Because then not only will you benefit, but others will benefit as well. And in this poll, we have an exactly 50-50 split. Half of us use Confluence templates and half of us do not. I would be curious if the folks on either side would be willing to share. And I'll put a quick note in the chat. If you're comfortable sharing, would love to know why you choose to use templates or why you maybe haven't used them yet. And I'm just curious to learn more about the group that we have. Now, templates also help the people reading content because they'll start to understand, oh, when I look at a project plan, it always has the same kind of information on it. It always kind of looks the same. Now, we can find templates in a few spots. They will show up in our UI menu on the left, and we can browse all the templates in our space. And also when we create a page, they're going to show up. So we have two different ways of just browsing and looking at them. I tend to look at them on the page because, again, when I first learned Confluence, this little bar would just pop up and they were right there. But we can also take a look at them anytime in the UI itself. And as I mentioned, space admins, or people who manage our space, can create templates. They can also do things like disable templates if we don't need them, or even straight up delete some of them. So if you're frustrated about them, please go in and make sure you're talking to your admin to add or remove them. Rodney, no worries. Glad you're here, my friend, and happy Admin Day. I didn't realize today was Jira and Confluence Admin Day. I should take the day off. That's amazing. Melanie, before changing to cloud, you made a lot internally, but cloud gives you a lot that are good enough, so you haven't made your own. Interesting. And that's one of the advantages of using a system like Confluence, especially their cloud variant. It just comes with, again, 140 templates that your team can find useful. So here's a 1 to 4 question, and it's going to be, how well do you understand Confluence Access? Oops, helps if I spell. And a 1 is not at all. And a 4 will be very well. And I'm doing a 1 to 4, honestly, because I can't figure out how to get the 5 to show up in this particular tool that I'm using. So all right, folks. And again, if you do like this content, please just hit that little thumbs up. Easiest way to support me. I'll talk about other ways to support me later. I'm going to take a quick sip of coffee from my Confluence Premium Week mug, which I didn't realize I still had. Ha! Melanie, no. 2.5 is not an option. I used to just ask this question in chat, and people would give me all kinds of numbers, 1.78932. So I'm kind of glad it forces us to pick one. Bandit Fist, you can use Confluence Cloud. You can go get your own free version of Confluence Cloud right now, my friend. Nothing is stopping you. Be free. Rodney, you will not skew the results. You are part of the audience. You are part of this group. And your input is just as valid as anyone else's. No, pie is a food, my friend. So, again, if we're thinking of our library analogy, a library has different levels of access and security. If the library doors are locked, you can't go in the library. There might be rooms in the library you can't go in, certain times of the day. Or maybe there's, old books in there that you have to be specially trained how to use. And maybe there are some books in an individual room in the library that are locked up or behind some kind of case because they're rare or expensive or damaged or something. Confluence is the same. The highest level of access is called the instance, and that's the copy of Confluence, and you need a license to get in. Typically, if you work in an organization and they happen to use Confluence, you'll have a license. There's always exceptions, and every organization is different, but this means I can't log into Atlassian's Confluence. I don't have a license, so if I try to go in, it will just say, access denied. If you can get into the instance, though, there are also permissions around spaces. My personal preference is to make Confluence as open as possible, so as many people as possible can learn and share and collaborate. However, there are reasons you would need to restrict access to a space. Maybe it's a sensitive project, or maybe you don't want just anyone going into the HR team and changing things. They can look, but they can't touch. And then at the lowest level, the individual pieces of content can be restricted. I might have an HR policy that I want everyone to view, but only Rodney should edit because Rodney is my expert in HR policies. Access is one of the most frustrating things for folks because they don't understand it and it's hard to see sometimes. And so it's something that we just need to understand. Mostly the page level restrictions are the confusing bit. You'll get a link to a page you can't open, but your teammate can. And that might be because it's restricted. You aren't on that list. Now, there are also global permissions, and these are applied when a space is made. So when you first join a team or when you get a new space, it'll just automatically have some things on it. And then within that, your space admins can tailor access. So when your team first gets its space, certain people will already get access automatically. And then you'll work with maybe IT or this space admin to tweak and tailor access. And so part of this might be them coming to you saying, hey, what do you need to do in the space, or what kind of activities do you think this group should do? And you can always go back and change this. So if your team realizes, hey, we got to change how our access is structured, no problem at all. Just talk to that space admin and they can help you change, all of these different space permissions. Now we'll just talk about these as an idea, but we just need to be aware they exist for the purpose of this beginner's course. And as you can see on the right here, there's a lot of little checkboxes and options and things. But these control all the different things we can do in a space. And this is why some people on a team might be able to create a blog, and some people can't. They don't have this checkbox. Now, there's one permission that most people never have, and that's delete anything they want. And that's because deletion is permanent, and we don't want to, get rid of things permanently. I'll back up a bit. So depending on the space you're in, your access might change. So just be aware that as you're moving through your team's Confluence, where you are will impact what you are able to do. And again, that can be frustrating if you're unaware of these changes. Now, I also spoke about restricting on a page or restricting a piece of content. Permissions are at the space. Restrictions are on content. And this is important to understand because if we're going into, I'll say Google, if you're going into Atlassian community or searching for help on why can't I see a piece of information in Confluence, using the right term will be very helpful. So again, it's a page restriction, and you can restrict view or edit access. Everyone can view it, no one can edit, or only a few people can view it, and only a few people can edit. But permissions impact the space. So that's a little kind of technicality almost that would have helped me quite a bit. I did a lot of searching for permissions and ended up with a lot of screenshots like this that did not help me at all. And then I found out restrictions existed, and this helped me quite a bit. So just another major thing we need to just understand. One thing to be aware of is the default restriction is visible to everyone, and everyone can edit. Again, for me, this is a good thing. If I make content and share it with everyone on this call, it's great that you can go in and all collaborate and add to it. However, that also means everyone can go in and collaborate and add to it, and we might not want that. So just be aware when you first create content, it's going to be visible to everyone and they can all go edit it. So here's just kind of an open-ended question we can use the chat to answer. But how do you all collaborate? Especially like during meetings or during work. And this question's always interesting to me because we have a lot of teams that are, spread all over the place, which is wonderful. But that can make it challenging to work together towards something. And that's where a tool like Confluence, a collaboration platform, can be very impactful and very powerful. So curious if you all can share, like when you're in a meeting, how do you collaborate with the group? While I take a quick sip of coffee, and while y'all, if you like this, click that little like button down below. And I'll get rid of this poll. It looks like most of us don't really understand Confluence access, with a couple of us who did. About 70% of folks gave a 1 or a 2 in that poll. Interesting. And quickly going to see what questions we have. No questions. All right. Y'all are all experts. I love this. So Confluence, being a collaboration platform, has a number of different ways we can collaborate in real time, which is pretty neat, or asynchronously, not at the same time. The most obvious one for me is commenting. You can go into Confluence, select text and comment, and you can also @mention them. They'll get a notification, an email, a little alert pops up. There's also collaborative editing, where people can go in real time and work on the same document. And we'll see what this looks like today. I'm going to open a page up and let y'all come in and edit it with me. But you can also share content, and that's the easiest way to collaborate. I do that all the time, and I'll talk about a few ways we can share. Now, collaborative editing, you can just, when you're editing a page, just copy the URL, and you'll see it has the word edit right there in there. Share it with someone else who has access to the page, and they can go, type and make changes at the same time you're doing it. And this to me is pretty neat because it means you can work on it together, kind of like you were sitting together, but you aren't sitting together. You're wherever you are in the world. And you can have up to 10 people jump in and work together on a thing. Typically for me, it's only 2 or 3 folks. I guess you could have up to 10. That might get a little chaotic depending on the team. But this is a great way to work together across distance. The next is commenting in @mentions. And you'll see my name in this screenshot is blue. That means this user has been mentioned. And they're going to get a notification. A little bell pops up in Confluence. They get an email. And it's a great way to remind someone about something, or to tag them on something they'll find interesting, especially in a comment. Now, you don't have to @mention someone in a comment. You can use it just to leave a question. And I do that a lot, and it drives a lot of people crazy because I'll point out an inconsistency, or I'll say, hey, has this been updated? And then you get these comments popping up on the page that other people see and other people can interact with. Wrong way. So it not only lets the person know who's making the content, hey, you can go update it, but it lets other people know, hey, I've got questions or I need some help here. So we're going to jump into Confluence Cloud Premium. Again, I'll do my best to point out everything that is different between Premium and Standard, or Premium and Data Center, or DC. But please call out questions if you see something like, hey, I don't quite know what that is. In a quick scenario, we're brand new to JQuil Industries. We've been told we have to document onboarding, and we've been told how to log in, but that's it. This was my experience, not at JQuil, at a different company. But I was told Confluence exists, go use it. So we're going to teleport into Confluence Cloud Premium and just see what it's like. And again, if you do like this content, please like and subscribe. I know that was a different definition of like, but hit that little thumbs up button, and that'll really help other people find this, and other people benefit from this as well. And if you really truly like this, you can get a super chat, I think YouTube calls it, one-time support for the channel, or become a member for ongoing support. Here we are in Confluence, and this is my homepage. I forget this page a lot, but all you have to do is click on the Confluence logo in the top, and it brings you right back here. I forget about this because I never knew it existed until I started doing these trainings, which I think is kind of funny. But this will show you all the work you had been working on, as well as kind of an activity feed of what else has been happening. So this is somewhere you can easily come back to if you ever like, wait, what happened? Where am I? I forgot what I was working on. Now, along the left, we have our navigation bar, and this is relatively new. They've just started forcing this new navigation experience out on cloud users. I'll find a video link and drop it down below for a bit more description on it. But this will be very different from what we have been used to in the past. And I say that because in the past, the navigation bar used to be along the top. And that's still what I'm used to. You'll see me forget and kind of struggle and come up here near the search bar. And that's because for 12 years, that's where I've been going. And there's a link in there for a video on the new UI if you need a more in-depth look. But this has things like my starred spaces. So again, these are my starred content. So these are things I've bookmarked essentially. And I can star, unstar. I've got a list of spaces in here that I can star. I always encourage folks to star spaces you use. It makes them easier to find. They stay at the top. A list of recent stuff you've been looking at. Again, useful if you work a lot in Confluence and you forget where you were. As well as a list of your drafts. Now, drafts are important because when you make a page, it saves as a draft, and you have to click a button to publish it. If you don't do that, you end up with all of these drafts, kind of like I have. And maybe these were useful. Wow, I have a lot of these. Oh, wow. I'm very bad at updating these, so be better than me. Eliso, I hope I'm saying that right. I'd be curious why you don't like the new navigation. And I'm not saying it's good, bad, or otherwise, um, but I'm always curious because Atlassian will make changes to Confluence Cloud. And that's why these trainings are important because we have to learn the new things. But I'm curious why you don't like it as much as the top level, or the top bar nav, I'll call it. Now, in this new nav, one of the nice things is there's this more menu and you can customize it. And you'll see I have some items that are kind of hidden. But if you click Customize Sidebar, anything above this bar is visible. Anything below is collapsed. I really like this because there are some things in here I almost never look at. Again, I don't use this templates button, so I hide it. I don't use teams, so I hide them. And this lets every individual make their own decision on what they see, and it cleans up some of the clutter. It gets rid of some of the things that people will find annoying. On the bottom, I have all of my starred spaces. One more thing along the top I'll point out is this search bar. This is now much bigger. It used to be tiny and hidden. And you'll notice when I mouse over it, I get this search /. This means I can just type a / on my keyboard. And on my American keyboard, that's the question mark key, bottom right-hand corner. And that will bring up the search bar, so I can just search for something. Now, if I hit enter, that goes into my advanced search, which gives me more filtering along the top and different ways to find information. So please be aware that search exists. If you're on Cloud Premier Enterprise, you also have Atlassian Intelligence that can help you. So you can just type in natural language and click Ask AI, and the AI tool will go find an answer. Again, that's Premium and Enterprise only. You won't see that in Standard, Free, or Data Center. And it's running a little bit slow today. So coming back to the UI on the left, all of these spaces, I'm just going to pick a space and we're going to pop into it and start exploring some of the other features. Now again, I will not see spaces. I'm not on the access list for. If I don't have permissions, they just don't exist. And Confluence will respect that permission even if I get a link, even if I see the space somewhere else. I just won't be able to open it. But here I can now see the home page of the space. And this is the page everyone goes to when the space first opens. They'll just drop right onto this. And actually, I'm going to drop one more poll about that new UI. Just to see what folks truly think about it. Now, the top level page ideally is customized to the space. You can see I just left it. I was very lazy. So this might be some feedback from my team. Hey, let's go update this. But on the left side, you'll notice the navigation has changed a bit. Those other spaces disappeared, and now I get the content in the space. So again, this is showing me what's in the jQuil 2 space. Again, if I'm in a library, this is a particular room. This is showing me what's in there. Rodney, I think this poll showed up a lot. Rodney is, I'll shout him out because he's so active in the chat. He's known as the Jira guy. He's been using Jira, how long, Rodney? Quite a long time. But I'm always very happy and thrilled that he joins me in these because he is such a good technical resource. He knows all the nuts and bolts, and he has such great experience in Confluence and Jira that he likes to share. You can find him on the community online. We have a Discord server as well for live chat. He's in there as well, helping answer questions and share ideas. So please join us in Discord if you're looking for more kind of interactivity as we go. Back to our space. Under here, I can see content, and I can always expand or collapse it. Here, I'll zoom in a bit. I prefer to keep it expanded, just so I can always see what's in the space. And I can see here, this one's a page. This one is a piece of content called a folder. All the folder does is let me contain other information. This one here is called a whiteboard. It's a way to visually collaborate. So these are some of those different pieces of content I can have. They don't all have to be pages. Now, I mentioned drafts. Only you can see your own drafts, and there's something called an organization admin or a system administrator that can see them. But these 3 pages only exist for me because I didn't publish them. And that's a very, very bad habit. I might make really good content and never publish it, and then no one can see it and use it. So to interact with this stuff, all I have to do is click on it. So I can open a page by clicking on it. And then if I have edit access, I can click this edit pencil or the E key on my keyboard. And I can go in and I can modify the page. And what we'll see then is just, in this case, a blank page. This is not the best example. But I can do things like add text. I can do things like insert macros, which we haven't really spoken about. They also call these elements, but these are ways to insert a table, for example. And I get there by the / button or the plus up here in my toolbar. I always encourage folks, look at the elements or macros you have. A lot of these relate to AI, like translation, but a lot of them are also about visually formatting the page, doing things like adding links or a decision, or even some statistics from Jira if we're using that. I haven't looked at this in a while. There's quite a bit in here. Now, the list you see in here might differ, and that's because your organization may have add-ons to Confluence. Think like apps for your phone's app store that give you more or different macros or elements. That for me was very confusing when I changed companies because I didn't realize that the list of apps would differ based on what they had purchased. So you can go in and edit pages. I'm going to close this and we're going to make a brand new page from scratch. I have a few ways of making a page. One is this big blue create button at the top. I personally don't use this because the first time I used it, I didn't understand how it worked and I kind of got burned. And what I mean is when I hit this button create, it will create whatever I select underneath the page I'm currently on. So from my perspective, I would make a page and it would disappear because I didn't realize when I created it, it was inserted under whichever page I created. And if we look at some of these, we can see this little down arrow. That's telling me it has a child page. So this is some of that visual organization. We can go through our space and kind of just click and drag and then organize the hierarchy to make more sense. So as someone's browsing, they can easily find information. But it's important to know when I make new content by clicking create, it will be created under whichever piece of content I have open. So that's another common mistake folks make. Another thing to know is the list of things I see in here will differ based on what has been set up in my space. So my space might not have whiteboards turned on, for example. I might just not see this option, and that's okay. But I'm going to make a page, and we can see right away there's now an untitled draft under that parent. And I need to give it a name. Please give things a name. If you don't, Confluence will yell at you. If you're on Premium or Enterprise, the AI tool will try to guess a name for you. So I'm going to leave the name blank for right now, and we're going to see what happens when I try to publish. Now, another thing that new folks find frustrating, you can't change font or text size in Confluence out of the box. You have instead what they call text styles. Essentially, these are just header levels. The headers are very important because they provide a visual breakup of content. We can see the word background is much bigger than this is text, but they also insert what's called an anchor onto the page, basically a hyperlink. And if I mouse over this, it says copy link to heading. If I send this link to someone, they'll go exactly to background on this page. So this is a great way to speed up your team and give them information they need when they need it. You can send them directly to the header you need to on the page instead of sending them to the page and they kind of just scroll around and hope. So I use headers quite a bit. You'll see you get, I think, 6 of them. And the lowest level looks like regular text. Actually, a little bit smaller than regular text. There are some other formatting options we have. We have bold, italic, underline, etc. We can do some text colors. In Cloud, we can highlight. I don't think we can do this in Data Center. I personally haven't found any reason to highlight text, but that might be because I don't think about highlighting text very much, I guess. We can do things like align text, which can be useful. Oop, my big fat head is in the way, excuse me. So center, left, right. We can add bullet points. And then we get, I call these the specials. Confluence allows us to track tasks. And so if I click this little action item button, you'll see it's inserted like a checkbox. And I can use this to remind myself to do something. Give this page a name. Publish the page. Very simple example, but this is another feature in Confluence. It's not as robust as a Jira ticket, but it's a very light way when I'm in a meeting or when I'm working with someone to quickly write down what am I working on. And so then I can just check the box or uncheck the box when I've done it. I can do things like add hyperlinks. I can insert files. So if I have an image or a PDF or something I want to include on the page, I can do that. I can click this button to @mention, but usually I'll just @mention someone's name. I'll just type Shift-2 on my keyboard for that @ symbol, and then I'll pick their name out of the list. Once I publish this page, Andrew will get a notification saying, hey, you were mentioned on a page. And you can see the text of Andrew's name change. It's now in this oval shape. I think they call it a lozenge. I can add emojis, which can be useful. The next one that I use quite a bit is layouts. And that's these two like rectangle looking things. I tend to use it just by hitting a /, and then I type the word layout. And I do this because I'm usually typing when I'm making a page. I don't want to have to move my mouse up and click. I just want to click, I need 3 columns. Column 1, column 2, column 3. And that then lets me visually change the page a bit. And then we've got that elements. There is a new feature that confused the heck out of me last month. You can unpin your toolbar. And you'll notice my toolbar is missing. I did this live and I couldn't find it. To bring it back, you just have to highlight some text. This is one thing that I don't like because I'm not used to it. You can repin it just by clicking the pin button. So if that happens to you, if you get stuck, that's the way to go. David, yes, public links. So I've mentioned a use case of Confluence is to keep things internal, but another use case is also to share it with the world. So I'm going to quickly publish this page, and then I'll talk about public links. Now you'll notice that AI created a page name for me. I never just want to trust the AI, so I'll always double check it. For now, I'll just click publish. And when I publish, I have the option to restrict it. Maybe this is a super sensitive page, so I want to edit. Oops. And maybe I only want Andrew to be able to see it. So I'll change my access to restricted and say Andrew can view. So that's how I would add a restriction. I'm going to take it off of this page, and then I'll publish. Now, if I click up on this share button up in the top, I can see that restriction option again. I can copy the link, but I also have this public link option. And if I turn this on, now I get this URL, which if I do something like put in YouTube chat, is now accessible to anyone on the internet with the link. This is good and this is bad. Again, maybe my organization sells a product that I want to share with the world, and I have a help center with articles on how to use that amazing product. I would want public links because I wouldn't want to have to pay for everyone in the world to have access to this page. That said, they can also be dangerous. Imagine someone accidentally makes a page public that has sensitive information. Now anyone with a link can find it. So your space may have them turned on. I can do it in this space because my space admin has clicked a button saying it's okay. And maybe your entire organization doesn't allow them. So it's possible you don't even see this option. It might just be turned off. If you do see it though, always be super careful, because if you do share this, again, anyone who gets that link can see this page. And it might be something sensitive, something you don't want just anyone to be able to see. And I'll see if I can pull up what it looks like. This is what you would see if you open that page. So again, it's all the content on the page. They don't see the rest of Confluence, but it's a way we can share this content, out with other people. Did that get to your question, David? I just want to make sure I got it. Now, there are other ways to access Confluence and not be a worker. There's something called guest access. Imagine you have a consultant who needs just to work on one project, where they would see Confluence more like this. So there are other ways you can share that information. And it looks like about half of us like the new UI, and about half of us are either no or eh, which is completely fair. All right, glad I got your question, David. And a quick reminder, folks, if you like this, please just hit that like button. It's the easiest way to support me, and it's super simple. The button should be right below the window you see me in. It's that little thumbs up. We've got, it looks like 13 likes. That's awesome. So let's excuse me. Coming over a cold, folks. Sorry about that. So that's creating a page. And again, once we create it, we can now move it around. I can just click and drag it in my content hierarchy, and I can say I want to put it somewhere else. I'm going to move it down here. That's always fair, and I'm constantly going into this hierarchy and challenging myself, how much should I move it, or how should I optimize it? As your space grows and expands, you should also come back and just make sure this makes sense. Someone coming here should be able to browse and see. So I'm going to make another page, and this time I'll make it from the content hierarchy. This is how I tend to do it. You'll see this little plus. It says plus create, and I'll just make a page right from here. This time I'm going to use a template, and there's a few ways I can use these. They show up along the bottom, and this little, I don't know what to call this bar along the bottom bar. Drop in your ideas for what I should call this thing. But you'll see if I mouse over these top 3 items, these are templates, and they're pre-populating the page. I can also click on all templates. And this is what I tend to do because I get this nice bar on the side that lets me search. And I need to move my gigantic head. Excuse me. I'll fly over here. If I search for a project, I'm going to see just templates with the word project in the description or the name. I can also filter. Maybe I just want to see the popular templates. I can see just the popular ones. There are a ton of filters. We're not going to go through all 144 templates. I have an entire hour training just on templates because they're so useful. But please take time to explore what templates are available. Someone mentioned in chat they've stopped making their own because there are so many useful ones. You get almost 150, for free with Confluence. And if you have add-ons, you might have even more. And if your team makes their own, you'll have your own custom templates. Here's 2 examples of custom templates I've added just to demonstrate what that looks like. But to use a template, you just need to find the one you want and click on it, and that will drop it onto the page. So right away, I have this structure that I, as a content creator, can build out. I give it a name, and then I've got this light gray text. This is called placeholder text, and it's reminding me as the creator what to put in there. So this is a wonderful way to speed up my ability to make content because I don't have to guess what should go in these boxes anymore. It's just telling me, oh, hey, a brief overview for stakeholders. Awesome, I know how to do that. Now, once I publish this, all of this placeholder text just magically vanishes. And again, that's because it's placeholders. Brief overview. So let's say I'm ready. I can just publish this. I do have some extra options for publishing. And for the data center folks, this will be new. I'll go to more options. You can actually schedule when the page should go live. I personally don't use this all that much because what I publish, I tend to need to go live immediately. But I might tee up a new policy that I want to go live on the 21st. I'm making up a date. And then I can click schedule. And then this page will exist, but it won't be live until then. And we'll notice it now says scheduled up at the top. Question from David. Theoretical rule of thumb on what should be in Jira versus Confluence. I love that question, and it's something I'm constantly not worrying about, but thinking about. I'll answer this question, and I've got a few more slides, but please keep dropping questions. Don't let David hog the spotlight. For me, I put information about the thing in Confluence, unless it's like very tactical. So if I have a bug report, for example, I'll put that on the Jira ticket. This error message showed up, because once that's resolved, it's gone. If it's engineering documentation, hey, I'm building an API, I will put a Confluence page with that information and link it to the ticket or the work item. So here we're talking about how does Confluence work with Jira, another system many people use, and how do we, as a team, understand what goes where? That is a very important question, just so our team doesn't get confused. So typically, if it's relating to a specific task and it's more tactical or short term, I might put it right on Jira. But if it's something that later my team will need to reference or other people will need to use, I tend to put it in Confluence. So anything around planning, anything around reference, anything around announcement, I will put in Confluence. Anything around, hey, I found this one weird bug, I might put in Jira. Of course, I might also then make that Jira ticket into a how-to article or some kind of documentation. So it is a great question, David, and it's something I'll encourage you to talk to your team about. How do we want to use it and what do we think should go where? Because every team is different and is going to use it differently. All right, folks. We're about out of time. I do have a 4.5-hour Udemy course that covers all of these topics and more. So if you're curious to get super deep into Confluence, and I created this course asking myself, what do I wish I had access to? Like, what complete training would I want? I made this course. So this covers everything we spoke about and a heck of a lot more. So if you're interested, I'll drop a link. That QR code goes to a coupon. You'll get the best price. I'll drop it in the chat as well. And feel free to share this with others. And if you have some kind of hardship, please reach out to me directly. I'll share my contact information. I can provide free coupons in some cases if folks need them. But please reach out and let me know. But this is a great way to support what I do. My goal is to keep making content. Unfortunately, I don't get paid. Exposure isn't the best payment. So some next steps. Please review this recording. Come on back here at some point and just review the recording. I will be doing about one of these once a month. So I'll be updating them as we go. So feel free to jump into future learnings. And I do also do a lot of other live and recorded learnings on my YouTube channel. So check out the playlists, check out what else is available, around me. I don't know exactly where it is on your screen, but there's a ton of great content. Also check out other people's content. There are many other great voices, perspectives, ideas, people out there. I'll pick on Rodney because I see him in the chat. But the more people you can learn from and the more exposure you can get to different ways of using the system, the better, stronger, faster, smarter you're going to be at it. And please keep asking questions. Join us in Discord, and I'll drop a link down below in just a minute. But join us in Discord for live chat. You'll see me in there with some polls and ideas and sharing things and asking questions, but other people as well. There's about 160 folks in there sharing information live. So please join us there. Just click the link. But also shoot me an email, robert@heen.tech. I'll be happy to help answer questions or provide guidance. Important thing to remember, though, you are not alone. You've been told to use Confluence. You've never been trained. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of other people exactly like you who are looking for answers and need help. So please reach out. Jump in that Discord. Come to future sessions. That QR code takes you to Discord. And also, if you have a moment, please like. That's the easiest way to support me. But you can also grab that Udemy course on sale or become a channel member, which will get you early access to videos. And I've got some other fun stuff going on with them. I'm going to take a quick coffee break while you all hit that like button, and I'll see what questions might have been dropped into the YouTube chat questions feature. Rodney's got an interesting point around the new UI. A lot of us are stuck on, it used to be like this, and just wrestling with that. And once we can let go of that, we can become open, and it's easier for us to accept something new. So if you're used to that new UI and you kind of don't like the new one, take time to truly evaluate it and see how it can be useful and beneficial and positive instead of a negative and something you hate. And it is different. We can't change that. Unfortunately, we're stuck with it. No worries, Rodney. I just responded. Otherwise, folks, please drop your last minute questions in. I would love to answer them and just see how I can help you all out. I do want to say thank you as well. You all just spent about an hour learning with me about Confluence basics. Eliso, I hope I'm saying that right. It's just a muscle memory thing for me. I've been using the old one for so long, I have to remember, go to the left, not the top. That said, being able to hide things I don't use was incredibly useful. That made me very happy because it just got rid of things I don't care about. All right, folks, I'll keep this open for another minute or so, but please let me know other topics you want to learn. We had some great questions on anonymous links and rules of thumb about how to store things and the new UI. I have a lot of ideas on new content, but if you have specific questions you have about Confluence, Whether it's basic or advanced or anything in the middle, please let me know. I'll be happy to put something together and share it. Maria, that is amazing. You've been using it so long, and I'm glad you were able to learn something. And that for me is one, really fulfilling. My goal is to make sure at least one person learns something every stream. I'm glad you're able to get something from it, and a great reminder for I think everyone that even if we've been using a system for a long time, we can always still grow, expand, and build. Melanie, you are very welcome. I'm glad you found this helpful. As a semi-professional YouTuber, please make sure you've liked the video. That'll help other people find this content. Edgar, you're very welcome, my friend. I'm glad you were able to attend. I hope you got something beneficial from this. And then one last call out, please share this with friends or coworkers. Again, I guarantee you there's someone you work with who has the same questions and is in the same spot and can benefit. All right, folks, we are about wrapped up. So I appreciate the subscription, and I hope to see you all again somewhere soon or in one of these live trainings. The next one I have, I believe, is on Thursday, so please feel free to jump on in. Chad, you are welcome, my friend. Glad you were able to join us. I appreciate you all joining me. Have a great day wherever you are. The chat will stay open for just a little bit, but thank you all again, and I look forward to seeing you in one of these trainings again soon.